Hello everyone, today I'm growing speckled pea microgreens and it's really easy to do. But first you need the peas. I got mine from the Mountain Valley Seed Company. That's where I get a lot of my sprouting and microgreen seeds. They also sell under the name True Leaf Market. And here I have a 1 pound bag, but I'm going to measure out around 2/3 of a cup of the dried peas. You can see they don't fill up the tray. This is a 10-inch by 10-inch tray. But later you'll see that this amount is more than enough, maybe even too much. The seeds are going to expand and need room to grow, so 2/3 of a cup, maybe a little less than that, is what you're aiming for if you're going to use a 10 by 10 tray. I went a little over the 2/3 of a cup mark, which was a little too much for this tray. In any case, err on the side of less, not more. You'll be surprised at how much these seeds are going to expand once we soak them. And that's the next step, soaking the seeds. And I find that 12 hours is perfect. So I put the seeds into a glass mason jar, covered it with water, and make sure that the seeds are completely covered and then a bit more water above, like you see here. Again, exact measurements don't matter here, just as long as the seeds are covered completely with the water. The seeds are going to absorb the water and expand, so it's important that there's enough water covering the seeds. Here are the peas 12 hours later, and you can see how they've just about doubled in size, or even more than doubled in size. And I have two trays here. The one on top has drain holes, and the one underneath is without the drain holes to catch the draining water. And I'm going to use a thin layer of soil. You can use coconut coir just as well. It does not have to be potting soil, but I happen to have this laying around, so I'm going to use it. But I've done this with coconut coir and it comes out fine, although I think it tastes a little better with the organic soil than the coconut coir, and that could be my imagination, or it could be that the nutrients in the organic soil add to the flavor. I think that might be it. So I put a thin layer of the soil in the tray and patted it down to make it even, and then I spritzed it with water to get the soil wet. Next, I drained the water out of the mason jar and then spread the seeds out on top of the thin layer of soil. You can see here that I have more than enough peas to cover the tray, and that I should have been a bit more careful measuring out the seeds, so a little less than 2/3 of a cup would have been even better. These seeds really expanded a lot in the soaking process. Once I have the seeds spread out over the soil, I cover them with yet another tray to give them a dark environment to grow in. And since I have some extra peas, I have a 5 by 5 growing tray here, so I'm going to grow these leftover seeds in a smaller size tray. No point in wasting them. And I'm going to experiment with a paper towel instead of soil. Let's see how well these seeds do on the paper towel. I folded the paper towel in half and then cut it so that it fit in the bottom of the tray, gave it a nice spritz of water until it was saturated, and then dumped the rest of the seeds into the tray. Then I gave the top of the seeds another spritz of water and then covered the tray with another tray. This tray unfortunately has drainage holes which let the light through, so I covered that up with another paper towel, since you want the seeds in the dark for the first couple of days at least, so hopefully the paper towel will block out the light. I always add weights on top of the trays. Somehow that didn't get filmed, and I usually put a heavy brick or some heavy cans of tomato sauce. Try putting at least 10 pounds on the trays. The idea is that giving the seeds something that they need to push up against makes them grow stronger stems. It also helps the seeds make better contact with the soil, and it traps the humidity in so the soil doesn't dry out. For seeds that have stubborn hulls, like sunflower seeds, it helps them shed those hulls more easily. Here it is the next day, and you can see the seeds. Well, most of them have already sprouted some tails. They feel a little dry, so I gave them a spritz of water and covered them up and put a weight on them. And here we are, and it's day 3, and you can see the tails have grown a bit longer. I give these peas a spritz of water every morning and every night. They seem to need it. That could be because my air is pretty dry, but if you live in a humid environment, it could be that they don't need the extra spritzing. Feel them, and if they feel dry, make sure to give them a drink. Okay, here we are on day 4, and wow, look at that. Some of these shoots around the edges are turning green, and that's because some light must have leaked in. They should all be yellow, not green, since they are in the blackout period, which means I'm still keeping them covered. I gave them another drink of water, and I'm going to keep them covered for probably one more day, but I'm going to flip the top tray over to make like a dome for the next 24 hours, so they're still in the dark, but without the weight on them. Some people keep the pea shoots in the dark for much longer. Then the shoots will stay yellow looking and they will have a milder taste. It's a matter of preference. If you like the milder taste, then don't expose the peas to light until much later. However, if you expose the peas to sunlight, then they will undergo photosynthesis and produce chlorophyll, which has health benefits. That's the green color in a lot of the leafy greens you eat. Here we are on day 5, and you can see some really nice growth here, and it looks pretty evenly distributed around the tray. I'm still keeping the tray covered, and this is the point where you can decide to expose the shoots to light so they will green up. Or if you want them to stay yellow, then keep them in the dark. You could also eat them at this time. They will be very nice and tender, but there is still room for them to grow more, so it's your choice. I decided to keep these covered for another day. So now it's day 6, and you can see how tall the shoots have grown in just a day. And at this point, I'm going to leave the cover off and let the shoots bask in the sunlight coming from my window. You can see the shoots around the edges are greener. Somehow they've been getting light while the shoots in the center of the tray have been deprived of any light, and they're still a pale yellow color. Here it is day 8, and you can see how green the shoots have turned after just one day in the light. It doesn't take much light to get them greening up. Look how beautiful these shoots are growing. It's day 10 and they are ready for harvest now, but I'm short on time, so it will have to wait until tomorrow. So here it is, day 14, and I waited a bit longer than I expected. It's 2 weeks since I started these, and they look a bit overgrown. Taste these every day starting at day 7 or 8, and you'll see as they grow larger, the shoots become tougher and less sweet. If you're looking for a tender, sweet shoot, harvest a bit earlier. These will still taste good, especially mixed in a salad with other veggies or in a stir fry, but if you want to munch on these by themselves, then I would say harvest them when they're still on the tender side. The downside is the yield will be less since the shoots are obviously much smaller on day 7 than they are on day 14, which is why most people wait until day 10 to 14 to harvest these. You get a lot more bang for your buck. Take a look at those shoots. I used a scissor to harvest these, one bunch at a time. Some people use a knife, but I find the scissor more comfortable for me. Just make sure they're food scissors and that nobody used them for something other than food. Notice how clean the shoots are, and that's because I didn't bury the seeds in the soil. I just laid them on top of the soil so that when they grow, the soil doesn't grow along with them. By the way, unlike other microgreens, pea microgreens can regrow for a second harvest, but you should cut them a little higher up on the stem to encourage that growth. The second harvest will not be as robust as the first, but yes, it is possible to regrow them. If you're wondering what goes on under the soil, here it is. These are the matted roots, lots of roots. And so that's it. Easy peasy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.